Fans stunned. Yoona and Lee Jun-ho's post-wedding announcement changes everything. What could possibly turn a fairy tale romance into the biggest headline of the year, just days after I Do? Less than 2 weeks since their dreamy wedding, Yoona and Lee Jun-ho have left fans in complete disbelief with a shocking revelation that no one saw coming. The golden couple of K-drama has once again blurred the line between fiction and reality, but this time, the twist is all too real. What did they reveal? And how will it change everything we thought we knew about them? Let's uncover the truth together. Right here on Red Carpet Revealed. No one expected the golden couple of Korean entertainment to end their story with silence. Just days ago, the world had celebrated their wedding as the culmination of a decade-long on-screen chemistry and off-screen friendship that blossomed into something real. The photographs from the ceremony, Yoona radiant in minimalist silk, Lee Jun-ho smiling like a man who had found peace after years in the spotlight, became instant icons of modern Korean romance. The internet called it the fairy tale ending K-drama fans waited 10 years for. And yet, less than 2 weeks later, the same couple would shock that same world again, with a message that turned joy into disbelief, and applause into stunned quiet. On a quiet Monday morning, a single post appeared on both of their official Instagram accounts. It was simple, almost understated, a white background, black text, and their initials signed at the bottom. We are deeply grateful for the love and support that has surrounded us through our journey together. After much thought, we have decided to step away from the entertainment industry and begin a new life together, outside the spotlight. The decision was made with sincerity and peace in our hearts. We hope you will understand that this is not a goodbye. Beginning of something true. Within minutes, the post went viral. Screenshots spread across every platform. Hashtags like Yoona Jun-ho retirement, why now? And End of Fan era climbed to the top of global trends. What do they mean? Step away, fans wrote. Is this permanent? Others speculated wildly. Was it burnout? Disillusionment? Pregnancy? Simply exhaustion from living life in the public eye? Noon, entertainment networks were scrambling. Reporters camped outside both agencies' offices. But no statements were released. The couple is resting abroad. A representative said later that evening, they have no plans for future projects at this time. For fans who had followed them for over a decade, since their early days as idols under rival labels, to their transformation into leading actors, the shock was profound. These weren't just two stars, they were institutions. Yoona, the nation's sweetheart, full of grace, intelligence, and consistency. Lee Jun-ho, the quiet overachiever, who evolved from boy band heartthrob to one of Korea's most respected actors. Together, they represented everything audiences loved about the new generation of Korean stardom: authenticity, talent, and the illusion that fame and happiness could coexist. Now, in one message, that illusion shattered. Industry insiders immediately began to dissect what could have led to such a decision. They didn't need to disappear, said one veteran producer. We're at their peak. There's no scandal, no controversy. That's what makes it so puzzling. But to those who had watched them closely, the clues had been there all along. In interviews leading up to their wedding, both had hinted at fatigue. Yoona had spoken about her longing for stillness after years of constant travel and public scrutiny. Lee Jun-ho, known for his disciplined schedule, mentioned that he wanted a life measured in moments, not ratings. They were both perfectionists, each conditioned by decades in an industry that rewards endurance over rest, image over identity. The wedding, then, may not have been an endpoint, it was an escape route. As the news spread, reactions diverged sharply. Some fans expressed heartbreak. They can't just leave like this. We grew up with them. Others defended their choice. They've given everything. Let them live. A columnist for the Korea Daily captured the mood best. Their decision feels like a quiet rebellion against an industry that never stops watching. The entertainment world itself was caught off guard. Endorsement contracts worth millions hung in limbo. Production studios reportedly called emergency meetings to discuss the fallout. One executive admitted, "We built campaigns around their image of longevity. Nobody imagined retirement at the height of success." Still, beneath the confusion, something about their decision felt poetic. The official statement made no mention of where they were going, only that they were beginning a new life abroad. Within days, photos surfaced of the couple boarding a flight at Incheon Airport. No bodyguards, no press. Just two people in simple clothes, holding hands. The image, blurry but unmistakable, spread like wildfire. Fans captioned it with heartbreak and admiration. They left like a scene from their own drama. For the media, the story evolved from shock to fascination. Who willingly gives up everything the world dreams of? Fame, wealth, influence, admiration, gone, by choice. Editorials described it as the great exit. Cultural critics called it the most peaceful scandal Korea has ever seen. Psychologists interviewed by talk shows offered explanations. After years of hypervisibility, some public figures experience identity fatigue, said Dr. Kim Soo-hyun, a sociologist specializing in celebrity culture. They lose the boundary between self and image. The only cure is disappearance. The phrase "the only cure is disappearance" began trending on social media, used by fans to describe the bittersweet acceptance of their idol's vanishing act. Meanwhile, their agencies remained diplomatic, confirming that both Yoona and Lee Jun-ho had fulfilled all existing obligations before stepping away. There is no contract dispute, no hidden issue. One representative said. It's a personal decision made in mutual understanding. That line, personal decision, would echo through newsrooms and fan discussions for days. If it was truly personal, it was also deeply public. Every network aired retrospectives of their careers, Yoona's rise from idol to actress, her elegant transformation through hit dramas and films, Jun-ho's evolution from 2PM member to award-winning actor. Each montage ended with their wedding photos, a montage of perfection fading into silence. Commentators drew parallels to old Hollywood stories, Audrey Hepburn leaving fame for family, Greta Garbo retreating into solitude. Perhaps they are Korea's Garbus, mused one Variety Asia columnist. Stars who knew when to leave the stage before the lights dimmed. But this wasn't a farewell born of defeat. It was agency. A declaration that they would define their ending before anyone else could. By the end of that week, airports and hotels across Europe reported unconfirmed sightings. Some fans swore they saw the couple in Switzerland. Others claimed Italy. No photographs surfaced, only testimonies, whispers, and the comforting illusion that they were somewhere peaceful, free from expectation. For their closest colleagues, the decision struck a chord of envy. They did what we all think about but never dare. One director confessed privately. To walk away while still adored, it's the ultimate power move. And perhaps it was. For a decade, both Yoona and Lee Jun-ho had embodied the idea of perfection under pressure. Every smile, every public appearance, every word was measured. They had weathered scandals, competition, and the ever-accelerating pace of fame. Together, they had built a shared narrative of stability, a brand of grace in a world addicted to chaos. Their sudden exit, then, wasn't an escape from fame. It was a rejection of its terms. By the weekend, global media outlets had begun to reframe the story. Instead of Yoona and Lee Jun-ho quit entertainment, lines began to read. Yoona and Lee Jun-ho redefined success. Analysts noted how their decision resonated across cultures exhausted by overexposure and burnout. It's not just a celebrity story, wrote The Guardian Korea. It's a generational one. Meanwhile, fan forums turned into emotional support groups. If they were happy, we should be too. One longtime follower. Another replied. It feels like saying goodbye to my youth. There was nostalgia in the air, an acknowledgement that the era of their on-screen magic had ended. Their dramas, once symbols of romantic fantasy, now felt prophetic. In King the Land, in Confidential Assignment, in Rain or Shine, there were always themes of escape, simplicity, and the search for genuine connection. Maybe, fans mused, their art had been confessing their truth all along. As the week closed, an entertainment host summarized the public sentiment during a live broadcast. They started as co-stars in a dream. They ended as partners in reality. Maybe that's not loss, it's fulfillment. The studio fell silent for a moment before cutting to commercials. In the absence of new photos or updates, journalists turned to experts for analysis. And strategists praised the couple's flawless exit narrative. PR analysts said they had achieved the impossible, disappearing without scandal. But the human story was simpler. Two people who had spent half their lives under scrutiny decided, finally, to be ordinary. Ordinary, but free. When the couple's joint fan cafe released a final statement thanking supporters, 4 years of light and laughter, thousands flooded the comments section with messages. Some begged them to return. Others simply wrote, "Be happy, wherever you are." The thread became a living archive of collective farewell, part grief, part gratitude, part liberation. Then, Yoona and Lee Jun-ho's accounts had gone quiet. Posts, no more press. Just a final note pinned to the top, "Thank you for growing with us." And as the world moved on to the next headline, somewhere beyond the reach of cameras, two of Korea's brightest stars began their first quiet morning as ordinary people. The fairy tale hadn't ended, it had just changed its address. Days turned into weeks. Shock began to settle into something softer, not acceptance, but contemplation. Across Seoul, billboards that once carried their faces remained blank, quietly replaced by newer campaigns. The lights that had followed them for more than a decade dimmed. Not out of disdain, out of respect. Something about their departure felt different. It wasn't a scandal that forced them out, nor a fall from grace. It was choice. And in an industry obsessed with control, that kind of choice felt revolutionary. As one columnist wrote in the Korea Herald, Yoona and Lee Jun-ho did not leave because they lost the game. They left because they finally understood the rules, and refused to play. In the first few days after their announcement, silence became its own form of communication. There were no follow-up interviews, no farewell concerts, no final tearful appearance on talk shows. Their agencies quietly confirmed that they had resigned from all upcoming commitments. Endorsements were settled gracefully, contracts dissolved amicably. They left like professionals. Senior PR manager who had worked with both stars. No drama, no bitterness. Just two people walking out of a crowded room, hand in hand. Still, the vacuum they left behind was enormous. Streaming platforms reported spikes in viewership for their past dramas. As fans rewatched favorite scenes, nostalgia turned into tribute. On social media, fan accounts morphed into digital museums, curating timelines of their shared journey, from debut interviews to the wedding announcement that broke the internet. The fascination wasn't just about romance anymore. It was about courage, the rare kind that says enough in a world that constantly demands more. By the second week, rumors began circulating about where the couple had gone. Swiss fans claimed to have seen them near Lake Geneva, others insisted they were in Florence. None of the reports could be verified. And that uncertainty became part of the magic. "Let them disappear," one fan tweeted. "They've earned it." Then, quietly, a single photograph appeared online. Not from paparazzi, but from a local resident in southern France. The image showed a couple, unmistakably them, sitting on a terrace of a small cafe, close together over a book. They weren't disguised or hiding. There was nothing secretive about it, just two people existing without pretense. The caption simply read, "They looked happy." The photo went viral within hours. But unlike other celebrity sightings, it wasn't met with outrage or intrusion. Instead, fans shared it with reverence, as if protecting it. "Don't spread the location," one comment read. "Let them have this piece." In a world where fame often ends in noise, theirs was a quiet revolution. Cultural analysts began to dissect the meaning behind their exit. For years, celebrities have been trapped in a paradox. Dr. Lee Eun-kyung, a sociologist specializing in media identity. They are adored for being authentic, punished the moment they show real humanity. Yoona and Jun-ho have broken that cycle by leaving before it breaks them. It wasn't just Korea that took notice. International outlets ran features calling their departure the great escape of K-drama's royal couple. The New York Times Asia wrote that their decision captured a growing fatigue with fame culture, a longing for privacy in an era that sells exposure as success. The impact rippled through the industry. Other artists, inspired by their choice, began speaking more openly about exhaustion, about mental health, about the need to redefine what it means to have made it. A junior idol group member wrote anonymously on social media, "They showed us that walking away can be stronger than holding on." The post was shared thousands of times before being quietly deleted. A symbolic gesture that said everything about how fragile honesty still is in the entertainment world. For fans, the couple's disappearance became both loss and liberation. It forced them to confront the parasocial comfort that fame provides, the illusion of intimacy that dissolves when reality intrudes. "I used to think I knew them," fan wrote in a reflective blog post. "Now I realize I only knew their reflection. And maybe that's enough." Back in Seoul, agencies and production companies adjusted quickly. New stars rose. New dramas premiered. And the machine continued. Yet, behind closed doors. Executives couldn't ignore the shift. Their absence changed the air, said one drama producer. It reminded everyone that we're not invincible. That even the brightest names can choose to fade on their own terms. 6 months after the announcement, a letter surfaced on Yoona's official fan cafe. It was handwritten, elegant in its simplicity. To everyone who has loved and supported us, we are doing well. Our days are quiet but full. We spend mornings cooking, afternoons reading, evenings walking along the water. There are no cameras here, but there is still light. Thank you for understanding our choice to live it privately. Love always. The message was signed by both names, Yoona and Junho, and dated from Lisbon, Portugal. It was the first and only communication they'd shared since leaving. The letter reignited global conversation, but this time, the tone had changed. There was no longer shock or disappointment, only respect. They sound at peace, fans wrote. That's all we wanted for them. Cultural magazines began publishing think pieces about their influence. One essay titled The Freedom Generation argued that Yoona and Junho had become symbols of emotional maturity, celebrities who refused to let fame define their humanity. Even within entertainment circles, the idea of sustainable stardom began gaining traction. Agencies quietly introduced rest clauses into contracts, allowing artists to take longer breaks between projects without penalty. Psychologists were hired by networks to help manage burnout. Yoona and Lee Junho didn't just retire, said one cultural critic. They changed how the system thinks about survival. Their legacy, ironically, grew even larger in absence. Streaming platforms packaged special retrospectives, the love story that outlived the spotlight. Fans in Tokyo held a candlelight event, playing their favorite drama scenes on a large outdoor screen. In Seoul, a mural appeared near Cheongdam-dong, a minimalist sketch of two silhouettes holding hands under the caption, "You were our favorite story." The mural became a tourist attraction within days. Covered in post-it notes from fans around the world, "Thank you, be free. We'll wait forever." In time, their silence became its own kind of art. They didn't need interviews or appearances. Every rumor of a sighting became a small legend, a new chapter written by those who refused to stop believing. Yet, as with all endings, there were those who struggled to let go. Some fans demanded a comeback, arguing that the world still needs their light. Others felt betrayed. They built their fame on our love. One online commenter wrote, "They could have at least said goodbye properly." The debate exposed the complicated relationship between stars and those who adore them. Fame, after all, is a transaction, attention traded for visibility. When that exchange ends, both sides must relearn how to exist. And maybe that was the point. A year after their departure, a small independent film festival in Spain surprised attendees by screening an anonymous short film titled The Quiet Sea. The credits listed no names. Audiences recognized the faces instantly. There they were, Yoona and Junho, walking silently along a beach, reading poetry, cooking in a small kitchen. There was no dialogue, only ambient sound and handwritten text on screen. When you stop performing, you start living. Critics called it a love letter to peace. Fans called it a gift. But neither of them confirmed involvement. When a journalist reached out to their former agencies for comment, the response was brief: "They are living their truth." By then, the couple had transcended celebrity. They were symbols of choice, of humanity. The right to step away. Their names no longer appeared on trending charts, but their story lingered in every conversation about burnout, self-worth, and the cost of perfection. Interviews, younger artists began referencing them as inspirations. "They taught us that silence can also be strength," said one rising actress. "Not everything has to be filmed to be real." Perhaps that was their greatest gift, not the dramas they left behind, but the permission they gave others to exist without explanation. Second anniversary of their departure approached. The event was held in Seoul by fans. There was no merchandise, no fan chants, only a slideshow of photographs and a single message on screen. "Thank you for showing us that love is not performance, it's choice." The audience watched in silence. Cried. Some smiled. When the lights came back on, they clapped, not out of nostalgia, but gratitude. Because in their absence, Yoona and Lee Junho had done something few ever achieve: they had become human again. Their story will likely be retold for years, as myth, as hope. but somewhere far from the headlines. They're living what they once only acted, a life unscripted, unrecorded, and undeniably real. As one fan wrote in an open letter posted online, maybe the reason their love story touched us so deeply was because it never belonged to them alone. It belonged to everyone who has ever dreamed of walking away and finding peace on the other side. In that sense, the announcement that once changed everything didn't just end a chapter. It opened a door. A door to possibility. Truth. To the quiet freedom of simply being. And perhaps, somewhere under a European sky, Yoona and Lee Jun-ho still wake before sunrise, brew coffee in silence, and watch the light spill into a life that is finally, mercifully, theirs. Because some endings aren't goodbyes, they're homecomings. Reader who followed this story, not for gossip, for understanding, thank you. This piece exists because people still believe that behind fame, hearts that beat quietly, longing for something real. To those within the industry who spoke with courage and compassion, thank you for the fragments of truth that helped illuminate the shadows. Your honesty turned headlines into humanity. Fans, the dreamers, the believers, who cried when the lights went out. Your loyalty reminds us that love for an artist is not ownership, but empathy. You gave this story its heartbeat. Yoona and Lee Jun-ho, wherever you are, thank you for teaching us that walking away can be the most graceful form of staying true. You showed that silence can speak louder than fame. The greatest performance is the one lived authentically, away from the camera's gaze. In a world that worships noise, you chose quiet. In an industry built on illusion, you chose truth. Because of that, you didn't just change headlines, you changed the meaning of happiness itself. For that, this story, and its light, belongs to you.